20. This is a walkthrough on how to remake supplied step file. This is our guide. I just uploaded this a little while ago. What I want to do is figure out how this was made and replicate those steps into a new file. I've already named it and saved it just next to it. Gave it the same name with remake. Problem is here, Colin, being a kind of a pain in the ass, has given us only one sketch and 5 features to remake this. We're going to ignore the placed McMaster car stuff, so only the base. How do we find this part? How do we, for example, figure out what he's done? We're kind of hoping he's rational. If we look at the origin, he's put it, or modeled it from, the origin's kind of in the middle. Looks like this spherical surface here might actually be centered on the origin. That would make sense. Some strange cuts here on angles. But the rest of it's flat, flat-ish anyway. Not much complexity up through these sort of bosses. So it might be not too bad, hopefully. So have a look at our units. It's inch. If we click this, yeah, that's inch. So let's make sure that we're both, the first step is often, if we get to it, make sure that both parts are in the same units. No, that's fine. Let's have a look at this guy. I'll just flip back and forth in the ribbon from now on. Hide the data. I'm not too interested in all this McMaster car stuff, so I'll just hide it. You can just press right click and say turn off its visibility, wherever that went. V. And all we're really interested in here is this main part, which is actually the body. So if we wanted, we could make sure that we were at the top level. So just making sure I've pressed the correct radio button. And from now on, all I'm interested in, along with a strange zoom, is this body. Let's go ahead here and start measuring it up. There's a previous video how to measure these things best. Often it's by splitting. Let's do that first. So split body. I'm going to split this body with this plane, I hope. Should give us 2 bodies. And there we go. Perfect. I'm going to do a sketch on this plane. Now, this is, depending on your settings, you may end up with a sketch. So you can see here it has actually added a sketch. Kind of a sort of projected intersection already. So that's good. Wrong face, wrong body. Now I also want to project some other stuff, so P for project. Can get the whole face here in one go. That's good. Now this edge here is probably a red herring. It's most likely just a combo of this spherical surface and whatever's happening in between. So really what I'm interested in is probably this radius and all the rest. So I'll escape out of the projection tool if it's still active. Let's see how big this guy is. That's a rational number. These are all going to be driven. Nice. Distance from origin to this center here. Rational. Rational. These guys are a little bit more of a question. I'm going to come back to those. So I'm going to start with my sphere, it looks like, with this radius. 2 1/4. So a quarter is a 0.25, an eighth 0.125. Let's do that. So let's set it up the same way. Insert sketch. We're an inch. A sphere is based on a circle, and it's 2.125 times 2, because that was our radius. Now we want a diameter. I'm going to make a sphere, so I need a line to go through that to make a rotary axis. Make it horizontal and put it through the origin. It doesn't have to be centered because we already know that. If you wish, you can make this a center line. Still get the good regions. I'm going to go ahead here and do this in typical sort of loopy mode. So finish the sketch. Keep an eye on it, make sure it's always fully constrained. Good. And we'll do a revolve. That's our start. Now, if we're lucky, everything else is nestled within. Let's have a look at this. So inch up, 0.625 in radius. So let's go back to our sketch. We're only allowed one, right? So let's edit the sketch. Now, not quite sure what's going on later, but it looks like we can at least somewhere, it's going to go somewhere down here. So I'm going to align it with the origin for now, and then we start thinking, oh, why don't we just do it all in one go? So we've got this line as well. So maybe we could find out what that dimension is. So what is the opening in a way, or the sort of angle? Oh, another rational number, 120 degrees. Perfect. So let's do that. Just going to get started. I'm going to draw it kind of, we'll sketch it in a kind of rational way here. So starting out here, just to get our sort of setup going. And if I want, I can kind of almost start doing some lines over here. Once you hit a hard stop like this fully defined circle, it'll stop the line tool. It'll deactivate the line tool polyline and then let you draw some more. Notice we only have one tangency. Probably horizontality or something, but I often like drawing construction lines, so let's draw one here and make it vertical. Give it a dimension. 1. How big was that radius again? 0.625. This angle was 120. And we obviously like them to be the same. So one way of, there's a bunch of ways of doing this. That maybe I'll stick with the most obvious way perhaps. Add a construction line. Make it horizontal. Then just put these two guys pointing at the origin. Because of this horizontality, now we're now fully defined. If that's a word. Doing not bad. So let's leave that sketch as there. Next, let's turn on the other body. And my advice is never delete the other body because you sometimes need it. Like so, for example, right now, I can finish the sketch that I'm using to measure and actually just do an investigate, an info or a measure, see the distance, 2.5. So, extrude. Two regions because of that center line. Now, you're thinking, okay, well, this is kind of backwards, but what I'm going to do here is an intersection, and I'm going to do it symmetrical. And I'm going to measure across the full length and call it 2.5. Yeah, that's good. Now, let's see here. Are we completely done? There's these holes. Could we put that in the sketch as well? Maybe even in the extrude. See what the radius 0.25. We can also go back into our sketch and just do a little check. So hard long click on it. Somewhere in here is edit sketch. Where are we here? Escape out of tool. It's running. Edit sketch. We can hide the body we don't like. Wrong one. Dimension. That's, be careful here, that's a diameter, 1/2 inch. Edit our sketch. Circle C. Just type in 0.5, enter. Finish the sketch. Notice it doesn't pick up. So let's adjust that extrusion. And sometimes you have to turn off the preview, sometimes not. For now, didn't have to, so don't. It's looking good. How do we make the middle part? There's various ways to do this, but you can see here there's a kind of a gap where these just, this whole face just kind of goes up and in and closes off. Let's go back here. So there's various ways to do this. I'm going to go with the way that I find easy, which is edit the sketch. It's tempting to say, oh, this is not what we want, but just leave it. Continue on. Unbreaking stuff, not breaking stuff. So we can do this. Well, it's not bad. It's adding a lot of complexity, I would say. I'm going to undo that. One thing I can do is actually just go ahead and delete this. Right? Makes our sketch undefined. See this? If you hover, you can see this constraint. I'm just going to delete that on both sides. All of a sudden we can pull this off both ways. And because these are already constrained onto the origin, all I have to do is snap them there. We're missing a horizontality because we deleted that line, so we can just add it to the ends of the lines. Perfect. And again, be very aware, the end of this line is now white, meaning it's unconstrained. So if you escape, you can drag it. You can also snap it back on. If you can do it more overtly by just pressing the 2. When you finish the sketch, it might break something, right? So we've got these double bodies now. Just have to go in here and edit that extrusion. So some of you are maybe reasonably thinking, what a painful way to do this. This is the point I'm trying to get across, that we do things, we move them, we fix them, we shift them, and we move on to the next step, which might require that we go back in history and change our sketch, for example. Sorry, but too bad. Distance between these two guys. Inspect, eye, or measure. 1.5. So another extrude, but this time only a piece of that same sketch. What do we say again? Distance. We don't have to use the inspect, we can just click both. 1.5. So, oh, because I'm flipping back and forth here, sorry. Extrude. This time we're going to be trying to get the right region first. Turn off the preview. There we go. 2 sides are symmetric. Distance overall, 1.5. And it should say, oh, you want to cut, which is what we want. What else are we missing? Only one thing, these 2 dugouts, circular. Or if I click it and I can see a radius, that means it's circular. So what type of sketch do we have here? Always the wrong body. Let's go back to our sketch, which we're in, sorry. So I want to figure out what generated this. Is it possible to even get it on this sketch? Well, yeah. Let's project again. I'm just going to project this whole thing. We end up with a rectangle. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be slightly off kilter at this side. So we're going to be not too worried about this. If I change this to a center line, which will it let me? Oh no. So I have to dimension. I can right click now and say diameter dimension. Oh, it goes backwards, but it tells me 1. But do I really need that? No. So dimension, it's a half. And this end is complicated because of the circular shape here, but this is probably maybe something we can do. That's a 1/2 inch in. Looks symmetrical. We could assume it is. Let's just make sure. Yeah. And this would be the same dimension again. Yeah, so 1/2. A 1/2, but all sorts of ways. So let's go and do that. Back to sketch. Edit sketch. While we're in here, one thing we can do is split this up and turn it into 2 separate parts and get rid of the circle, but it's not doing any harm. It does show us that our bosses are, these sort of protrusions are completely within the spherical shape. That's not a bad thing to know, so we'll leave it. What we need here is a rectangle. Now, there are rectangle tools, 3-point, which allows us to do something like this. It's not what I want. Well, I could, but I don't want to overlap lines. So let's do it old school. Let's go along here, try and get it perpendicular, parallel or perpendicular. I'm gonna give up on that and just connect them up. So this is where I want to go with parallel. There it is. And parallel. It might already have it because it just made perpendicularity. I don't like this too much. This is a small point. I would rather go to the generated line. So I'm going to go ahead and add that over here. That's better. Dimension 0.5, and its radius is the same. Now, how do I completely define this without getting carried away? Well, I can just put this on this vertex on the circle. Let's make sure this makes sure, no matter how big the radius of the circle, this big circle, this will always protrude slightly. So this will make sure our cut works. We're going to do one and come back and do the other, so make it a point. So one, so this is a revolve. You might, oh, that's not right. You might want to, it might be hard to pick, so you click and hold profile. It's picking the wrong center line, that's okay, but it's also missing this one. So hold down, and I'm on a Mac, here's Command or Control to turn off the preview. This is not correct, so the axis is not that, it's this. Nice. Now, there's an option here for how to fit it. We've got 4 so far. You can either do a mirror up here at this level, or you can do a mirror back in the sketch. I tend to do it in the sketch because it's a simple mirror in the sketch. Either way, it doesn't make much difference. I think this is more obvious. Maybe, I'm not sure. You can also see why we use this line, because we have a mirror in the sketch coming, which is why I put it in. Sorry, S mirror. Oh, while we're at it, S mirror. There's 2 mirrors. There's one for features and one for sketch. The sketch, you'll notice, is transparent. Features is solid. That's the one we want. What objects do you want? Well, there's just these 3 lines. Mirror line is that the construction line for positioning the vertical hole in our boss. So finish the sketch. So now we're just repeating this revolve again. It feels a little unfun to do this, but what do you do? If you pick the easy region first, it knows what profile we're after, or what profile plane we're using, and the axis is incorrect again. There we go. Sketch is fully defined. 5 features. Let's check the volume here. So we've split this up, but that doesn't matter. You can just ask for example, the properties. So properties of this is it's collecting everything. So we should be able to just pick some bodies if we're working right here. Good Lord. Our volume is, see if I can get this to do what I want. Maybe not. I'm gonna merge these 2 guys back together to get the volume. I'm just gonna ask for the properties of this body. Sorry, so merge, ask for body. This one, the volume is 1109. I'm just gonna take a screenshot of that if I can. Good Lord, can't use my own computer. There it is. And the properties of this guy. Got 110982, 110982, so it is correct. There we go. That's how to go ahead and do this guy in one sketch, 5 features. From here, you would be moving on to putting McMaster car parts into here. And the big clue, as we talked about, is the number. So just as a little test, let's just pick up a number here. Oh, if I can. There's the number. Copy that. Go over here and start placing in McMaster car. That's the washer. And here, of course, jumping around a bit, touchy mouse. Switch over to step. And it, again, we've been here before, but you can kind of place this as you wish. I'm not sure what side it is on right now, but we'd use a joint and all that sort of stuff. There it is. So this is what we just placed, and we go ahead and do the other two features. But for us, I'm just undoing back. That's where we're finishing. That's it for me, and thanks for watching.